And my other hot take is that they could have just flown over the miasma.
Pew pew! Pew pew! Run, 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 run. Welcome to Pottages, your critically nostalgic analytical tour through the Digimon anime. I'm your host, Jeff Ruberg. This week we're discussing Digimon Adventure 2020, Episode 19, Howl, Jyuoken. And my guest this week is a co-host of the My Hero Academia podcast and another co-host of the Haikyuu podcast, The View from the Top. Kendra, thanks so much for coming on the show. How's your day going?
I'm doing good. I just binged all of Digimon over 4 or 5 days, so I'm good to go.
Nice. So I am curious to hear your thoughts having watched a bunch of this new season, but before we get into that, I want to know, what's your backstory of Digimon? First off, how'd you get into Digimon?
I watched kind of the original anime when I was 8 or 9, so I was kind of prime age to imprint on Kari, which will be a trend. And yeah, I think I watched season 1 in English dubbed, and then I watched a bit of season 2, but I don't remember anything really of it because I had to look up stuff after the fact, and I was like, who's this Ken guy? I was so I missed a lot of the plot of season 2, I think.
Do you think it was watching random episodes and missing some here and there as a kid?
I think so. And then I think I just kind of lost interest in it probably. But season 1 was my jam. That was the one that I really liked.
And so it sounds like mainly the stuff you're mainly familiar with was the anime and mainly season 1.
Yes, I think I watched a tiny bit of Try, but I was also confused because I think Try starts with it's not Tai Chi and stuff. It's a different people, and I was I don't care about these people, so I stopped watching it.
Yeah, I guess it's mostly Tai Chi and his friends, but there is that new character, and actually I think she's not really in the first movie too much, but I'm not going to defend Try too much. So.
That's fair.
I think there are lots of reasons people fell off of it, but I think the new movie that just came out, Last Evolution Kizuna, is really good and really worth checking out, even if Try wasn't your jam. It's much more like the original season.
That's cool. And I didn't go into it, but I'll go a bit for toys. I have a Garurumon, or wait, I need to double check. Gargomon, and you think he'd be a gargoyle, but instead he's a cute dog, and he has a machine gun for hands.
I never thought about how Gargomon sounds like gargoyle, huh?
Yeah, that's what I just realized, because he can also there is also a Gargoylemon, not to be confused with, who looks different. But I just thought he was really cool. I think he's somebody in Digimon the movie, but for some reason we had him. I think my parents were this is a Digimon, here you go, kids.
Oh, so I just looked it up, and apparently the name Gargomon, in Japanese, with the L and the R being so similar, apparently it's coming from Galgo is a type of dog, similar to a greyhound. Apparently.
That makes sense. I think I got confused because it said Gargoylemon underneath, so I was oh, they're related, but they're not. It's funny now, kind of realizing behind the names, the mix of English as well as Japanese is kind of cool. And I also have a Digimon board game that basically you collect tokens and try to digivolve, and it's not a very fun game. But maybe I can sell it on Kijiji or something. Who knows?
Oh yeah, I didn't realize that Gargoylemon is one of these instances in Digimon where it's actually been translated as Gargoylemon and as Gargomon. So Gargomon could be referring to both of them. Oh no.
Gargomon is really cool. He's also wearing jeans as well.
Oh yeah. That leads to the iconic line in the movie, "He's got pants now." Which I say every time I put on pants in the morning. So all right, so on to a quick lightning round. So I get the impression your favorite season is Adventure, season 1.
Yeah, season 1.
But who's your favorite Digimon?
I would say separate ones. For maybe the original series, I think Gatomon was my favorite, just because kind of the twists and turns of originally being evil or kind of evil and then turning good. I think is a really cool development. And I think for this season, I was really surprised that Tentomon is kind of my favorite. I just really like the cutesy voice, and their connection with Mimi is really cute. And I also like all their evolutions, because some of the other ones I don't like them. Joe, the one, it goes from furry to being not as furry with a shell, and I was no, you're naked.
Oh, but he has lots of muscles in that evolution sequence. So
Yes, I was so confused that was happening. But I think, and also. Oh yeah, I would just say Tentomon is my favorite just because they're cool. Or no, wait, sorry. Palmon. I think I said the wrong name. Palmon.
Oh, okay. I was curious when you're mentioning the relationship with Mimi, and I was like,
No,
hmm.
because okay, Palmon has tentacles.
Oh.
Tentomon doesn't. So sorry, Palmon is my favorite connection to Vivi. Annoy Palm because it's like pal and also palm, so it's kind of cool. It's like it's your pal and it's a palm
Mm.
plant. I don't know.
I never connected to Palm, huh?
Yeah.
I'm realizing all these things right now that I never questioned, never thought about. So who's your favorite Digimon villain?
Ooh, I would say the one I really remember is Puppetmon or something. The one that was one of the
Mm-hmm.
Dark Masters. Just really freaked me out. But it also like wanted friends, so it was kind of sad. It just really scared me. So that's the one that I like really remember.
Yeah, I loved him. I loved how like in that arc, like he gets most of the screen time, and it's like
Mm.
in terms of like actual power threat, I don't think he's the most threatening, but like in terms of creepiness and like what's effective as a kid, I was like, oh man, he's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I think you vaguely alluded to it, but who's
Mm.
your favorite adventure character of the kids?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I went in thinking like as an adult, Sora's gonna be my favorite. But I was really surprised that like Mimi is really one of my favorites. Probably secondary to almost Joe as well, but definitely Mimi. I think it's also because like I'm very One Piece brained, so she reminds me of like Usopp and like Nami a little bit. So I don't know. I love Mimi. Mimi in any episode makes it better.
Mm-hmm. She's great.
Yeah.
Do you have a hot Digimon take?
Oh, this is a bad. Or actually, I would say one quick thing is Kari is my favorite from the original. I don't know if
Mhm.
I said that, but sorry. A hot Digimon take. Sora's kind of boring.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, that's I I wish that were hotter because I think that's pretty
Yeah.
common of a take, and it's
Okay.
still disappointing because everyone, well, not everyone,
Mhm.
people with taste want her to be better,
Mhm.
and then she's just always disappointing, and it's sad.
And my other hot take is that they could have just flown over the miasma. They.
Yeah, yeah.
I got so like I was live. I was like tweeting it, and I was just like, "Why?" And then like later they flew, and I was just like, "Why didn't you do that before?" But I don't know. I really think it's cool how they're like using them as mounts more and like riding them and
Mhm,
stuff,
mhm.
which I think is cool. What other hot takes do I have? Oh, Tentomon's evolutions are scary. They're bad. I don't like them. They should go away.
Do you find Tetomon in his base form?
He's cute. He's a
Hmm.
ladybug. He's cute. But then Kabuto and then like the really long name one after that, pass. They're really, really scary. Like they're too scary for children.
Yeah, like I get that it's like harkening back to the like how Pokemon came from a tradition of the like beetle collecting and beetle fighting and stuff, but it's like I don't want to
Yeah.
actually see beetles. Make them cute animals instead. That's what Pokemon's good at. Like
Yes. I did appreciate that. I swear, in one of the episodes, there was a really good like knock on Pokemon when Mimi's like, "Don't worry, I won't capture you or anything," or it might have been Sora, and I was just like, "Oh yeah." I keep wanting them to take random Digimon with them, and they don't, and it's because it's not Pokemon.
yeah, there are some in one season Cross Wars they kind of like build up a team like they are gathering an army. So it kind of
Mm-hmm.
like has like a gathering a team over the course of the season vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
And my other hot take would be I wish Kari was in it more. Like, they're redoing it. They could just, like, have Kari be there. It was nice she was in the last episode, but it really feels like Kari's, like, 5 years old in this season.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I thought it was especially weird this episode how she like before has been like talking a bunch and then she meets the other kids and she just is completely silent. I'm like, oh.
It's so weird. I'm like, come on, Kari, talk to me. But
For a second I was like, oh, is she like a character from Rugrats? Like the dialogue we've been hearing isn't actually real. It's just been like internal monologue or something.
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know. But do we know how long this season is going to be?
Yeah, so the strongest evidence we've heard is that it's planned to be 66 episodes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I think we'll get into that in the main episode because I think there are some signs in this episode that like a running theme in the past weeks has been me being like, how can this be 66 episodes? Like what is gonna happen? Like it's going way too fast, but also and that the fact that it's going way too fast is frustrating me and disappointing me, but like there has to be something exciting they're getting to if they're going this fast and there's this much time left.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this episode started to give us hints toward that in the actual narrative itself and not just
Mm-hmm.
outside the narrative looking at the episode count.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so how have you been thinking, having recently caught up on Adventure 2020 all in like a day or two?
Yeah.
How have you thought about the show so far?
I've I've liked it, but a lot of it's been nostalgia from like knowing the characters, and like some of the episodes have been hit or miss, but overall I've liked it. But some of the times I'm just like, this is referencing something. Like when the Pokemon fuse and become the white Pokemon, Ultraman, I'm just like, I don't know who this is.
Oh.
Like, am I supposed to know this person? And then like they fuse again, and it's the same Pokemon. He just changed his arms. Boring. This hearsay. I don't know. Sacrilege.
Yeah, I think that is a really like he's like one of the most Omegamon / Omnimon is one of the most popular in the fandom, and like I think most people remember him from the movie when he first appears. But it's that's really interesting to hear that like without that memory, it just doesn't land. It's just
it's just like a boring fusion. I'm just like, he has big blue eyes, and I'm like, you're creepy. And I think they should. Oh, okay. I was gonna say something about the episode preview, but my theory is that like they're all gonna be fused together and become like a big Ultramon or something. I don't know if Digimon could do that.
that has happened once before, so it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah. So that is my thoughts on 2020. They're all gonna fuse together.
Did you have a favorite of the episodes so far?
I kind of cheated that I kind of have 3. Episode 12, which is very Mimi-centric, I really liked because I think it was basically like a Ghibli film if the Terminator was there.
Oh yeah, that was the one that was I saw on Twitter that you were like, oh, this is giving me Nausicaa and Castle in the Sky vibes, and I was like, yep, I'm pretty sure that was exactly the intent.
Because they did like really cool visuals as well. It was also kind of sad too, because like Gardomon kept thinking of her smile, but she was smiling at her reflection, so she wasn't even smiling at him. And then she didn't even smile at him as he died. So I was like, or as he like went back into hibernation. So I was like, okay. But then after that, episode 14 was when they were being hunted by the bugs. I really liked the team up and kind of Iki kind of learning like, oh, you're smart even without your computer. And then episode 16 when they think they go back to Tokyo, and it's just really creepy vibes. And I've been to Shibuya Station, so I very much feel getting lost.
Oh yeah, like I had been in almost that exact scenario just this past January, which feels like a decade ago now. But like, oh yeah.
Oh, they're just lucky that they were like the Digimon Imon let them meet up again, because I was trying to meet up with somebody in Shibuya Station and it was basically impossible. And I want to do another Mimi shout out, is that she's the only one who thought to like talk to people, and it's one of the reasons they realized the world was wrong, because people were kind of like stuck on stock phrases. So it's like, go Mimi, she tried to order a burger.
Also, a random note about that burger thing is that so in that episode, right, they call it's clearly Burger King, but in this show they're calling it Burger Jack.
Yeah.
And in the Last Evolution Kizuna movie, it came out in Japan in February and just came out in English a couple weeks ago, and they in that movie it's Burger Queen instead. So
that's
Mimi
cool.
is our Burger Queen, even if they don't call her Burger Queen this time.
I support this 100%.
All right, so let's dive into this week's episode 19, Howl Jyuoken, aka Assist of the Beast King, aka Fist of the soon-to-be deceased king. And clarification for many people who aren't aware that Jyuoken is the original Japanese name of what was translated in the original dub as Fist of the Beast King, and it's a pretty literal translation, so it's I think pretty silly for them to not translate it, since it's kind of iconic.
Because I definitely, like, in the episode they said it, and I was like, I don't know what this means. I was like, is this a Hunter x Hunter reference?
Yeah, especially because Minotaurmon is like, oh, you're infamous for your Jyuoken. It's like, okay, great. Like, yeah. I mean, I think it's a standard in anime to leave attack names untranslated if it's like a hyped up name. But like this is one that like is pretty iconic in the English fandom, so I think they could have translated it. But anyway, before we dive into the episode, the spoiler policy is that we're going to be talking about everything in the Crunchyroll episode, including the title and preview for next week, but not including any online. There have been text synopses and titles revealed for episodes beyond next week, and we're not going to be talking about that stuff that was not in the episode. So yeah, Kendra, what were your impressions about this episode?
It's just very funny seeing Leomon, just because I have a vague memory of him from the original series. So I'm just like, do I trust this lion man? And also he's Sanji, which I only realized like halfway through he shares a voice actor. So I just want to double check the name, because like halfway through my notes, I'm just like, wait a second. I recognize it's Hiroka Hirata, so that made me very happy. I'm pretty sure I could trust Leomon. He's badass. He's kind of like the first like adult that they've met. They don't need to like protect. So I just thought that was really cool. I like Bullmon better than I like Minotaurmon. Good. Yeah, that's I could jump in throughout, but and also I was very surprised to see. I'm very bad that I forget their Japanese names or their names in the sub. What is TK's name in
Takaru?
Takaru? Yeah, I was very surprised when I saw him.
Yeah, yeah. I did not notice that Hiroki Hirata is Sanji. I didn't know. Like, I mainly think of him because for some reason he's stuck in my mind a lot as he's in the original Digimon season. He's the voice of TK and Matt's or Takaru and Yamato's dad.
Ah,
Looking back on it, I'm like, maybe that's stuck in my mind because his name actually, like the character in the show is given name is Hiroaki, which is also the name of the Seiyu. So I guess they gave him the same name as the person he was playing.
I just want to say their dad is awful. Like Tikaru is literally like just like living in an empty apartment, wandering
Yeah,
around.
I am so confused about what's going on with that. And I mean even Taichi and Takari's mom, like Taichi's been missing for days and she just leaves a note for him like, "Oh, we went to a different house," like, and it's like, okay."
And they saw the kids, and she was just like, was like, "Where's my son? Have you seen him?" But Kari like told him, "Oh, I think he's okay." And I was like, "Okay." Sorry, that's jumping ahead a little bit.
No, no, no. And one last note on Hiroaki Hirata. It's so weird looking at his like list of like his filmography, and it's like the first couple things are like Digimon, then One Piece, and it's like he has this long list of filmography, but it's like basically like One Piece is one of his first roles, and he's still doing it. Like One Piece will never end.
I think it's kind of funny. I'm trying to see. He did Digimon before One Piece, so he's like. It's kind of funny. They kind of just kept him on, and so he probably like costs more now. We're like, oh great, now we have to use him.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's interesting your perspective as like someone who like watched Digimon in the original but hasn't been like engaged in the fandom in recent years because Leomon is like infamous. I'm sure most listeners, well, I don't know, maybe this is news to some listeners, but like he's infamous for dying in the show, and like it's a meme. Like as soon as Leomon shows up, everyone's like, "Oh, when's he gonna die? When's he gonna die this time?" And so like apparently it was a joke. Like the voice actor when he came in was like, "You're gonna kill me off again, aren't you?" Like. Like, how long am I going to be doing this?
He's Mufasa. He has to die.
Yeah, and Aslan.
Oh, oh, okay. I feel bad for not trusting him because I looked up and I was like, oh, he dies, but I was also like, I think he mentioned off pod that he was controlled by the bad guy before, so I was like, okay, go Leomon. I hope you don't die.
Yeah. So, but back to impressions of this episode. Like, I last week left me in a really low place with the show. Like, I was it was also the timing of the Last Evolution Kizuna movie, which, by the way, I should plug that I was on the With the Will podcast this week talking about that movie. And you should go check it out. We had like a whole, like, I think the episode's like 2.5 hours talking about the movie in depth, and it was a pretty fun discussion. And back months ago, before the movie was delayed, we had plans to cover it on Podigus with the rest of the original crew. But once it got delayed, things kind of got tossed to the wind, and maybe that'll happen someday. But I've been busy and everyone else has been busy as well recently, so maybe that'll happen. Stay tuned. But anyway, with that movie coming out and being so good, and like at a point where this show was not very good, it kind of made me like, it's kind of reframed my entire expectations about the show, where like I used to think that it was like, if I'm imagining a raft, I'm imagining like a raft that I was initially like, for a couple weeks I was like, oh, this raft is starting to sink. Like I'm kind of starting to see some holes that are forming, but like overall it's, just sinking a little bit. And I was imagining it as this like, otherwise this perfect, great raft that was like, oh, maybe it's starting to sink a little bit. And since that last episode with Omegamon forming again and Last Evolution Kizuna coming out, instead I'm like, this raft has so many holes, and just the fact that it's still floating is great. Like, like that, I'm kind of like, I guess in short, like the bar has been lowered a lot more, partially because last episode was so bad, and partially because Last Evolution Kizuna was so good. So now I'm like, okay, like I'm not expecting deep character development from the show. I'm expecting a fun visual spectacle. And like it's fun to see these characters in a new environment, but I'm not expecting like deep character moments. So with that reframing, I'm appreciating the show a lot more. And also this episode, I think did a lot to turn my impression around. Like it for lots of weeks now, it's been like, "Ugh, okay, so we got this spelled out in episode 5, what like the arc of the season with like finding the Holy Digimon, but there's been like no updates on that since.
Mhm.
And this episode finally like spelled out that like it seems like plot is actually happening now, and it seems like it's integrated in an interesting way. Like it's not just I was worried it was just going to be like, okay, we set up a new goal and now we're waiting like 15 episodes for that goal to come to fruition. But it seems like
Mhm.
things are more integrated now. Like there's actually pivotal things that are happening, and there's also teasers in this episode that make me excited to see what's going to happen towards the rest of the season. So yeah, so I think this was a great episode, and it's fun to see Leomon in action, and it's made me optimistic about the future of the series again. So
I
yeah,
guess like my thought, like for Digimon, my expectations are kind of low because I kind of try to remember. Okay, this is a kids show. It's like very much a
yeah,
kid,
yeah.
but like because like I guess like I like all anime is for kids, but like, I don't know. I don't think it's wrong to have your expectations up either. I just think like Adventure is weird because it's hard to tell who it's for because like am I supposed to be going in with like all this Digimon knowledge or like is it for new people? I don't know.
Yeah, I think this season is really trying to have its cake and eat it too in terms
Mm-hmm.
of getting both audiences into it, and I guess we'll see in the end how effective it is at that. But I think it's I think for returning fans, it's like the characters still kind of work because we remember the depth of the characters from the original show, but they haven't really given us any of that depth here. Like
Mm-hmm.
for a quick like thing that I was reminded of watching this episode, like in Last Evolution Kizuna, there's a subplot about Matt Yamato like kind of looking back on his music career, like his like playing harmonica in the original series and playing in a rock band in Zero Two and stuff, and like his like nostalgic like having to grow up and having to give that up and like wanting to return to that and stuff. And it's like brief like, character moments that are really evocative. And in this season, it's like, do we have any insight into his hobbies or his like
Mm-hmm.
character outside of the events of the show and the fact that he cares about Takaru?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I don't know, it just was something that stood out coming back after that movie.
It was kind of funny because he's like, "Oh, I have my brothers in Tokyo," and it'd be like, "They all have family in Tokyo. Like, you're not
Yeah.
special. Do you want to go die in a desert by yourself?" Like, I got mad at him in that episode.
That's a good point. Like
Yeah.
they don't all have younger siblings, but they do all have family.
Yeah, but then like his dad is kind of like not there, and he's like, I don't know, he has to worry. I don't know, it's a smaller kid, so it makes sense. I'm just mean to Matt. Yes, Yamato, because I will try to remember. I'll try to say the Jap. Yeah, well, it's hit or miss. We'll see.
Yeah, I basically just bounce back and forth with whatever happens to come off my tongue at the moment. And
Yeah.
all right, so let's go
Mm.
into the recap of this episode.
Mhm.
So it starts off with Devamon basically like, and I don't know, this was interesting. I don't know who he's talking to. I guess he was talking to himself, but it was interesting seeing him reframe kind of the events of Nidhoggon.
Mhm.
And basically said that like implied that Nidhoggon's birth and death will be a foundation for things going forward, and like it's very ominous. And it makes it seem like I guess we got this impression last episode too that it's like they quote unquote won, but like they didn't really win. They won the battle, but not the war. Like they're whatever was set up, whatever that thing that was birthed at the end of last episode is more ominous and is more threatening than whatever they're doing with Nidhoggon. So
Mhm.
I'm excited to see that. So yeah, so the episode starts off with Taichi Yamato wandering in the desert, and Taichi tries to reach Koshiro on the Digivice, and eventually Koshiro picks up and is like, "Oh, we're in the real Tokyo," and without the Digimon. I thought this was a really cool the way they represented the real Tokyo this time.
Mhm.
Like it was interesting how the original, like when they were in fake Tokyo, it wasn't immediately fake looking,
Mhm.
and yet this time when they're in the real Tokyo, it does feel like it feels drastically different enough that we do. When Kushiro says like, "No, this is definitely the real one," we agree with him. And I
Mhm.
think the biggest difference is the noise. Like there's bustling noise in the background that feels more like it feels more real than the original one.
It you kind of realize like, oh, this is what was missing in the fake one.
Yeah.
I did get really scared because when he first picked up, he sounded really robotic, and I was like, oh my god, it's not him, it's a fake one, and I got really scared. But then we saw him talking, and I was like, okay, good. I couldn't handle. I got really worried.
Yeah. So Taichi's like, okay, we're gonna stay here and keep looking for the holy Digimon. I guess that's kind of all they have to go on at that point because they got separated and who knows how they can get back. But we get this funny moment of Joe trying to be a responsible citizen and trying to tell the police about everything that's happened and they don't believe him.
It's amazing. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah, I love how Koshiro shows him like, of course, they're not gonna take you seriously. Look at all these crazy conspiracy theories online, like people talking about fake news, the digital version of QAnon. It's a little
Yeah, oh
too
yeah.
real. But yeah, Sora spots Hikari and her mom, and we've gotten hints that like Sora and Taichi knew each other before the series, right? So I guess that's kind of plausible. But then Hikari's mom is just like, I need to go get the car. Here, take this cat and take this child.
Here's my maybe 5-year-old. Look after her.
Yeah, this I found it. I already a couple episodes found it so weird how they just abandon the cars because it's like, okay, there's a power outage and the cars like this traffic is bad, but like, is it? This isn't like a pocket. Like it felt like at the point where you're abandoning your car in the middle of the freeway. That's
Mhm.
like you should only do that if you're like in the middle of the apocalypse. Like there's a
Yeah.
zombie attack or like Japan is sinking or something. But they're just like, oh, there's a power outage and the trains are running. Okay, let's go. Leave our cars here. And
Yeah, it's kind of like, and like car then gets lost. Like, obviously, that's going to, everyone's rushing towards the subway. I would be like, I would just go forward and jump in the car that someone was out of and just start driving like further ahead or something. I don't know.
yeah, so it was a little weird how like once it's all been resolved, she's just like, "Oh yeah, I guess I should get my car." Oh yeah, it's like,
I just realized that. Oh, yeah.
yeah, so it's a little weird how they're treating it as like not that big of a deal, but
Yeah.
whatever.
And I do wish that she'd ask them, like, hey, have you seen my son? Or something. Like,
Yeah, especially if she knows that Sora knows Tai Chi, right? Like,
mhm.
no, she doesn't remember him at all. She doesn't remember she has a child. She left a note. That's all she cares about.
Yep.
But yeah, back in the desert, Taichi and Mato are approached by a giant fortress named Valvemon, and a bunch of Troopmon, which is apparently what they're called, storm out and start shooting at
Mhm.
them. These Digimon are weird. This
Yeah, they have guns. It really surprised me. And then they're kind of like they're really, they have like hoods or kind of like helmets on. I don't know. They're very odd.
it's like too real, like too close
Mhm.
to real weaponry and real people. Like
Mhm.
you could just have a person under that suit. And so it's a little just like off-putting that way.
Mhm.
Like it's one thing to have like real guns like on a Minotaur or something,
Mhm.
or 50 guns on a dragon or something, but like
Mhm.
a thing that looks like a humanoid in a suit, like. But I think this gave me lots of Star Wars vibes, like the
Yeah.
I don't remember what they're called, but in like in the first in A New Hope when like there's that thing in the desert where they that tribe of desert people like come out of and like have like stun guns and stuff, and they're in
Mhm.
like the transport thing, like the gets cargo and like picks up R2D2 and stuff. I don't remember Star Wars well enough to
Yeah.
talk about the specifics, but yeah, it gave me lots of those vibes.
Mhm.
And then Leomon rides in on Peckmon and starts cutting Valsmon's eyes, which was I didn't notice the
Yeah.
first time, but I was like, oh, when I watched it a second time, I was like, oh, that's why the video footage cut out because he literally just cut the eyes.
Oh, I just thought it was like that's super brutal because like they do strategy a little bit, but it's cool to be like, no, I'm gonna get these eyes.
Yeah, it's interesting with this kind of recurring theme. I guess it's not that recurring,
Mm,
but the second time that we've had a like big fortress Digimon,
mm.
then the first time when they beat that giant, oh, I don't remember what was it called. I think it
It
was
was a
called
giant
Cannon
bee.
Bima.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like when they beat him, like the head just falls off, and I was like, this is so brutal. But I guess it's a giant fortress, so it's
Yeah.
not that weird. I don't know.
I remember getting so done. I'm like, why do the hornets live in a giant bee? But they like commandeered it.
hmm
I don't know.
Yeah, so then Spadamon and Falcomon are also there on Peckmon.
They're so useless. And
Yeah,
Falcomon look is an owl. Like I don't. Why are you Falcomon?
don't that's too much. Don't think about Digimon names too much. Like,
Yes.
yeah. So Leomon tells everyone to retreat, and then they ride off on the three Peckmon, which are they're basically just chocobos. Like,
Yes, or I was thinking of ostrich horses from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I don't think they're called ostrich horses. They're called something else, but it just made me think of that.
yeah, I don't remember them, but that sounds like a thing that would be an Avatar.
Hmm.
Yeah, so once they retreated, Leomon kind of mentions that Namon talked about them and explains that Namon's safe. And he also talks about how like Devmon's the root of all evil on the continent. Valvemon's in crew with Devmon, and that Leomon's comrades had heard that Valvemon picked up important cargo in the desert, quote unquote, related to the Holy Digimon.
Hmm.
And I thought this was a really cool, just like seeing the like plot machinations of like spoiling the end of the episode.
Mm.
Takaru is the cargo, right? And
Yeah.
like if Takaru is transported to the digital world in roughly the same place as the kids, he would be in the desert and Devamon would send some, big ship after to catch the cargo and to find the
Mm-hmm.
cargo and stuff. Like it feels plausible, feels, I don't know, natural in a way that just the rest of the show has not been to that. Like the rest of the show's plotting has just been, oh, there's a threat in this place and we beat the threat and we moved on. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
there's no I don't know. It's such a bare minimum of like plot, but it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
people are doing things that make sense and they're following like the inputs with logical outputs. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Like I almost wish like some of because we had Ogremon in like a few episodes, but then he quickly gets beaten. I kind of wanted more like a carry on, like reoccurring. I guess we kind of had that with the bird, the sound birdmon, the like the unknown thingies basically that fly
Mhm.
around. I wish like I don't know. I wish they'd had more personality or something because it's cool to kind of see a bit more of the actual organization.
Yeah, like I definitely when Ogremon first appeared, I was like, oh, he's gonna be the recurring bad guy. Then
Mhm.
the second time he appears, he gets defeated and it's gone. And then
I hated his face. He was always smiling, but then he like got redeemed. I was like, "Oh, I like you now." But before, I was like, "No, I hate this Digimon."
I saw you comment on this on Twitter, but the thing I hate the most about him is how the name is spelled in the official.
Oh, Orgymon! Why?
Yeah.
I
Well, there
hate
is
it.
kind the reasoning behind that is that like in Japanese it's spelled with like a the way that trying to think of other examples where like if you have an R, like an ER, that's typically like a long vowel sound.
Mhm.
Like Wizardmon is Wizamon. Or I can't think of other example right now, but usually if it's like
Mhm.
an ER or an OR, it's romanized in Japanese or it's transliterated into Japanese with a long O sound.
Mhm.
So like I think someone with not that great of a grasp on English saw Ogamon and was like, "Oh, so the R goes there. Orgamon is how it's spelled in English." And it's like,
Yeah.
no, that's not how ogre is spelled, but okay.
uh,
Yeah, but yeah, it's one of those things that like the dub translated to Ogremon
mhm.
logically, like this is how ogre should be spelled, and the official like reference book for Japanese names had it as Orgemon, so they went with the official reference Japanese book. So anyway,
Oh, I like seeing the resistance. Like when they got mentioned a bit
mhm, mhm.
before, and it's really cool to be like, oh yeah, there's like actual Digimons also fighting back, and Leomon's like actually like dead serious. I think it was really really cool. Like it definitely gave me again Star Wars vibes, which is cool.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, is this like is Leomon and a couple Pekmon and Spadamon and Falcomon, which just completely forgotten about halfway through the episode, is that the
Mm.
full resistance? Or like is there gonna be a full on organization? This was just a small strike team of it's yeah, I don't know. I'm curious and excited to see more about that.
Mhm.
So Taichi and Yamato are like basically like, let's go on the operation. And at that point, Spadamon and Falcomon just don't come along the second time. I don't know. They just get left in the desert.
Yeah, it's like we're not taking you. We're gonna take these two kids. But I guess like they're kind of legends, so I guess like they haven't really even proved themselves to him yet, really.
Yeah, like I guess the fact that he recognizes them from legend is like,
Mm.
okay, they're worthy of bringing, but like, couldn't they all have come? Because they all rode the Pekmon away. So,
True. They're just like, nah, we're done. I do want to shout out the Pokemon have hats, and it's very cute.
oh, that is a good catch. I did not
Yes.
catch the Pekmon
Sorry.
hats. Sorry, I'm trying to go through my screenshots and
Mm.
see the hats.
I'm pretty sure they do.
I apparently did not take enough screenshots of Pekmon. Oh, I see. Like they have like a visor.
Yeah, they just have a hat. It's
Yeah,
not like a themed hat or anything. I just thought it was cute.
yeah. So yeah, once they're storming Valmon, they the plan is basically to see where the troops are defending, basically, and then go and follow them there to be the assuming they're protecting the cargo. And yeah, they kind of do that, and then they get to a room with a bunch of the Troopmon, and Leomon defeats them easily, and then Taichi and Yamato are like, oh, so here it is, and Leomon's like, no, this is too easy. This is clearly a trap, and it's yeah, he's smart because yeah, Minotaurmon saw Leomon and was like, he's clearly after the cargo. Let's mislead
Mhm.
them. But then that misdirection doesn't last long because then they just run into Minotaurmon and the actual source. So
Yeah, it was kind of like confusing almost, but it's funny because I've been playing a lot of D&D lately, so like really large encounters, like shit, I gotta fight all of them, and he's like, no, I'm a higher level, multi-attack.
yeah, speaking of like going through these mobs and stuff, like this
Mhm.
whole encounter, it's I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know if I'm frustrated or not about the fact that the that Gabumon and Greymon stay as Gabumon and Greymon and don't sorry, Garurumon and
Mm.
Greymon, they don't go to ultimate level at all in this encounter.
Mhm.
I don't know how I feel about that because like it does make the whole thing feel kind of like so what was the point of this? Couldn't you have done it all faster if you'd come in at ultimate level and just plowed
Mm.
through everyone without a second thought?
Yeah, I
like
guess. So is
yeah.
there a time limit for? Because not really. I don't think that like.
Yeah, they've been pretty loose with that kind of
Mhm.
stuff in this show. Like I think they've been in those forums pretty long already.
Mhm.
So Yeah, I don't know. I think it's like I normally think of it as like they're kind of like working up a like when lifting weights, you're supposed to kind of like work into it. Like you're not supposed to go right into the your max rep. You're supposed to like start off by like, okay, lift the empty bar
Hmm.
and then lift like, in like 10 to 20 pound increments or whatever.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, that's kind of what I think of these encounters. Like, okay, start off as champion and see if you can beat them. And if you need to pull out the bigger guns, then go to ultimate. But
Hmm.
it's kind of weird how this whole episode's like, oh, I guess they don't ever need to pull out the bigger guns. So like, what was the point?
Yeah,
It's yeah, it's a little weird.
because they got Leomon.
Yeah, yeah. Who is also champion, so like theoretically they're
Yeah,
more powerful than him.
that's
But
what I was wondering. I was wondering, I'm like, what is he? But that's cool. Oh, and also we get to Minotaurmon, and I was like, oh, I like his outline. It looks really cool. We see him, and I'm like, no.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
wearing like a bull suit, like if there's a zipper. He's wearing another Digimon skin, but not in the cute way that like the other one is wearing Garurumon. I had it written down. Not yeah, not in the fun way that Gabumon is. It's just really creepy, and I don't like him. But Bullmon is cute.
yeah. I never really connected the zipper on his in his chest. Basically, I find him really off putting because like
Mhm.
he's very muscular.
Mhm.
He has a very visible crotch with no genitalia, which is already like the intense muscles and
Mm,
crotch make me uncomfortable. And then like the proportions of like giant fists and giant head on this like very muscular body, just
yeah.
the whole thing feels like vaguely sexual, but also vaguely creepy and off and wrong. And so like,
Yeah. Like it's the face really. It kind of makes me think of like a gimp suit, which I don't know, that's very
mm,
dated or like offensive maybe. I'm afraid to Google gimp suit now. I don't know. It's just it doesn't really look like gimp suit. It's just weird looking.
oh, I realize the thing that makes me like feel even weirder about it and is it's the nose ring.
Oh yeah.
Like that, yeah, that
Yeah,
anyway.
if Digimon look too peoply, they're creepy, and
Yeah.
he's the uncanny valley of Digimon.
Well, I think like there are ones like Angemon where it's like this is just like a full-on human and looks
Yeah.
fine, but this is like people-y with a giant head on like a small body.
Hmm.
It's a little in earlier scenes with Takaru and Hikari. I feel like like their proportions have been a little bit weird. Like Takaru has been like giant head and like tiny body, and it's like what has made them feel even younger, like like a
Hmm.
2-year-old at this point. That's just because this is kind of like the Digimon version of that.
Mm. And it is interesting that he's not being mind controlled because all the other Digimons have been that
Hmm.
we've seen, but he's not, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah,
But he explains why. But I'm just like, but also like the kids like haven't registered this really.
yeah. I think it's really interesting how he like Leoman asks him why he's gone to the dark side, and he explains his reasoning and stuff, and it's a pretty
Mm.
cool reasoning. Like he's saying that basically like Devimon's power is like what Devimon is basically like building up is so intense, it's going to shake the entire world, change the entire world, and like
Hmm.
I'd rather be on the side of that. And it's a
Hmm.
really cool way to make us hype for the rest of the series. I just find it so weird when basically when he's defeated and he's like on his knees, basically like surrendering.
Hmm.
And it's like, okay, so they're not going to kill him because he's not evil. He's not been possessed. And they go and kill him. And it's, or they don't go and kill him. He just like, after talking, he fades away. And it's like,
Yeah.
so they don't like have any remorse for this or at all. Like this whole show has been very weird with letting Digimon die and not caring about them dying.
Yeah, the weirdest one was Gardomon and Andomon because they didn't even disintegrate. They just kind of like stayed covered in moss. So like
Yeah.
Lilymon or whatever can like kill people for real.
Yeah, that one was especially weird because it was like matched with Mimi's like rage of revenge
Hmm.
and like while also being this uplifting moment. And it's like, did you just murder this Digimon in cold blood? Like this should be a negative moment, but
Yeah, and he even like realizes like, what have I done? And I'm like, can Andomon come back, please?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I think optimistically some people have read that as like they weren't actually killed, like they're just in stasis or something, and like they'll come back or something, maybe, or at least Angemon.
They're sleeping.
Yeah, they're just sleeping, maybe. Maybe it's like healing grass that's going to like heal Gargemon, maybe, but who
Uh,
knows?
but I did appreciate for the fight when they were just like punching and kicking each other. I was like, ooh, this is like a real fight. Like it was
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was really cool.
Yeah, I really like the camera moves around while they're fighting. It's a really good action scene.
Mhm.
And then Leomon decides to put away his sword and is like, "Let's fight with our fists,"
Yeah.
which seems like a rude thing to say to someone who doesn't have two fists, but you know.
Oh, true.
But then I mean, Minotaurmon takes it in full swing and is like, "Yes, let's see if your famed fist of the Beast King can match up to my metal arm thing, Iron
Yeah,
Arm."
and like Dark Darkseid Quake, he was like destroying his own ship.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I was like, what are you doing? And Jyuoken just really sounds like, I think I made the Hunter x Hunter reference. It sounds like rock, paper, scissors, like the Jyuoken, whatever Gon says. I'm just like, is that what's happening? But it's the fist of the beast or something. What was it again?
Fist of the Beast King.
Okay. And I did like at one point, he's hitting his like metal arm to make it do it again.
Yeah. So they basically
really funny.
They do their 2 attacks and they're equally matched, and then Minotaurmon's like, okay, like our fists are like locked in combat, but like I'm just gonna activate it again. And then Leomon counters that like while Minotaurmon's charging and is like, well, I have a second fist, so let me use Shin Jyuoken with my second fist.
That was so good. I've got more than one fist. It's kind of like the opposite of the meme, like, he's got 2 hands. You can ship him with more than one person. It's like, he's got 2 hands. He can punch you again.
I meant to actually look this up because I found it weird the first time when the first Jyuoken / Fist of the Beast King he uses is with his left hand, and I was like, has Leomon always been left-handed? But then the one that he does, the Shin Jyuoken, is with his right hand, and I don't know since they didn't translate it, but Shin can typically, like, it's often used, it can be written with one kanji for true and one kanji for new. So like I was like, is this the new Fist of the Beast King or the true Fist of the Beast King? And I don't know which one it was, but maybe that's why I didn't translate it, because the translator also had no idea which one it was. But it just reminds me of in Kingdom Hearts when there's Organization 13, and then for Kingdom Hearts 3 they're like, now there's Shin Organization 13, and for a while fans were like, is this the true Organization 13 or the new Organization 13? Anyway, so they beat Minotaurmon. He's dead. Yay. And then Leomon cuts open the cargo, and Yamato's face drops when he realizes that it's Takaru in the cargo.
It's so funny because he cut it open, and like there's a person and he could have hurt him. Like, I was expecting it to be like a relic or like more like weird language or something, but it's a whole person in there. He could have like hit him.
Yeah, that's the really dark timeline where like Leomon cuts him open and Takaru's just cut in half and just bleeding out. Yeah. And then we also see Angemon in Chains of Darkness.
Ooh.
This was a bummer for me because I was really hoping that we've gotten all these hints, like they're going to the Holy Digimon, and we know that also Devimon is involved somehow, and seems to be like, it seemed obvious that Devimon was like holding the Holy Digimon prisoner or something. I really wanted a reveal that Devimon was Patamon, like he was corrupted and evolved into Devimon. But yeah, that is apparently not what's happening, because Angemon is there and is in captivity.
Yeah, I hope they're not. But I guess I'm trying to think of when they showed like all the the flashback, and we see the 6 beasts also running, and I don't think we saw Angemon there. Like, it was just 6. It wasn't the 8.
Oh yeah, there was a one shot of the 6 of them, of the like warriors, quote unquote warriors, at their mega level, and it was just the 6 that are the main characters right now. It didn't have TK or Kari's forms, but there was the panning shot of all of the Holy Digimon, and I meant to look that up because I'm confused that Angemon, like, it seems pretty clear now, especially with the preview for next episode, that Angemon is the quote unquote Holy Digimon, but I don't remember Angemon being in that shot of all the Holy Digimon. I thought it was Seraphimon. If anything.
In the preview one, there's this weird bird, and I was like, is that the Holy Digimon? That's what I took away from it. But I guess that's just because like I want to look at the episode preview to see who this weird bird is.
That bird was in Digimon Frontier. I think it's like, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's spelled weird. It's like Velgurmon.
Okay. So it's probably not the Holy Digimon then.
No. Well, I mean, it does in that season of Frontier. It is basically like this, kind of similar to Devimon. It's like it's a corrupted form. Like, there's supposed to be a spirit of light that gets corrupted into it. Wait, no, sorry. It's a spirit of darkness, and this is like the evil form of it, which then gets purified into a different spirit of darkness. So.
But I also think think it's kind of cool because like Gatomon was kind of like with the baddies in the first one, and now it's kind of cool that the Angelmon is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, and I wonder, I really want to know where Gatomon is because I really like. Also, it's so weird that like Gatomon's a champion, but they're so tiny.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they. I like that in the original show that it's like this, like the contrast between the small size and the powerful demeanor, but that only lasted so short because it like basically as soon as she wasn't a villain, she was kind of nerfed and wasn't as interesting. But yeah, and then in Zero Two, she just like loses her tail ring and then is much weaker, which is disappointing. But yeah, I'm curious how they're going to justify in this reboot with like how they're because in all the promotional materials, it's still Gatomon. It's not Gatomon / Tailmon. It's not the rookie form. So I'm curious how they're going to justify it. Yeah. So the last thing in the episode is that there's the Digimon analyzer at the end with Ikakumon, and the notable thing is that Koshiro speculates how his claws can emit high heat, and he's wondering if the claws can heat up his bento box for him. Okay.
It's just funny because we haven't really seen that in the episodes that it gets hotter with that. So that kind of surprised me.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe what they were implying because they were showing like scenes of him like sliding down ice and stuff, and I was like, maybe what they're implying is like that's how he can like help him ski better. It's like heat up the ice a little bit or something and make it slipperier. I don't know. It does not explain how earlier when they were in the desert and he was just sliding through the desert sand. Like
I got so annoyed because I wanted him to be like too hot because he's all furry, so that's what I was like expecting.
Yeah.
But then no. And I don't know if I mentioned it in the podcast while we were recording, but Minotaurmon is creepy, but they have a nice butt.
that is important. I think that might have been off mic, so it's good that we got that recorded for longevity's sake.
On the record.
I need to go back and rewatch the episode just to appreciate the butt some more.
There's only like one good shot of it where it's just kind of a little butt, and I'm like, oh. And also, I don't know if I gushed up. Bulmon had a cape and is really cute, and there was this cool like they're charging each other, and then like they jump, and then like the other guy gets him. I just thought that was really cute.
Yeah, it was cute how it was like basically like treating him like a I don't know, it's like bullfighting, like leading him in circles and then defeating him. So I'm looking now. I finally found the screenshot of when they showed the Holy Digimon in episode 5, and yeah, it's definitely Seraphimon in that lineup, not Angemon. So. So maybe it's like, and I guess maybe Seraphimon, this is something that maybe wasn't in the original season, so you might not know about, but like Seraphimon is Angemon's like ultimate, like his mega form, his final evolution.
Oh, okay.
So maybe what's going to happen is that Angemon is like, has been weakened, like was originally Seraphimon, but was weakened down to Angemon and then put in captivity.
It really is like a seraphim, scary angel.
Yeah. It's a little bit weird because like in the original season, like Angemon is like hyped up so much as being this like he's so strong, he can beat Devimon and stuff, and then like later like only shows up to like fight Myotismon. It's like always a big deal when Angemon shows up. And then when Magna Angemon shows up, it's also a huge deal because he takes down Paimon and stuff. And then in like every other piece of media when Seraphimon appears, it's never that big of a deal. Like he basically like in Digimon Frontier he appears and is like immediately defeated. In Tri he appears and is like, and he's useful in battle I think, but he like is so unceremonious and isn't a big deal at all. And it's like why? It's so weird, this Digimon that's like hyped up so much and then its final form is just no one cares about.
Yeah, I'm going to make a bad current events thing, but Magna Angemon just makes me think of Trump. Make America Great Again, Mon! And I'm like, no, away with thee!
Oh boy. So let's go into the 3 reviews from Twitter. So at Golden Pelt, Velgramon Hype Train.
At Vapafish, he's still here?
I don't know who that's referring to. I was confused by that one.
Leomon! He's still alive, I guess?
Oh, yeah. Because, usually he's dead by this point, so. At Born Individual, The Chosen 2.
Oh, at Dot Yawning, Falcomon riding Pacmon? I think it's kind of funny, like, the Digimon riding other Digimon.
Yeah, I mean, this one's particularly weird because in Data Squad / Savers, the 5th season, Falcomon evolves into Pecmon, so it's a little bit like...
Oh my god!
Like you're riding your future self, kind of.
That makes it worse! That's such a good detail, thank you.
At Leo Sketch, Agumon riding Garurumon.
I also really like that as well. It made me very happy because I was wondering, I'm like, why isn't Agumon evolving? Because but then it's like, oh, that's why. And at Toku Joe, Data Squad. I don't know what that means.
The fifth season is called Data Squad in the dub. So
Ah.
and this had Falcomon's from Data Squad, Pacmon's from Data Squad. Doesn't have to be the only ones.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's like okay, kind of the squad, Data Squad.
Mm-hmm.
At Drew Hoffman, Macmon the knife.
Have you heard that song, Mac the Knife?
No, okay, that was I didn't know the reference.
Yeah, I think that's what it's referencing. I've also singing the song wrong, but yeah. And then at CRR McRae, I'm very sorry for screwing up your name. Finally, the plot. And like I agree. It's like finally stuff that's like actually happening. They're actually like interacting and finding out more from other Digimon.
Yeah, I totally agree. At Gagemon 22, Minotauromon replaced Ogremon.
I guess. I wish like Minotauromon had hung around for like another episode or something. I think it would have made me like care more. And at More Pastel, finally, villains talk. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, that's been one of my biggest complaints of the series so far, that like the villains have no characterization. And yeah, this one, at least they got to talk a little bit, so that's good. At Happy X2 meeting, Valvemon eyes repair. That was a neat moment where the Troopmon are repairing the eyes.
Oh yeah, and also the eyes just got slashed, so like they definitely do need new glasses. I need Valvemon with glasses, robot glasses. And at Kumar16AR, story-filled episode, and definitely like it was actually stuff happening, plot.
Yeah. At Lover_Digimon, really awesome story.
Yes, definitely. And then this is someone from Reddit, I think. Yoshimon400. Takaru gets tried. Stasis tubes. Yeah, it's just like a pod baby.
Yeah, so the in Try, there are a bunch of characters that are like not important to the story, and they just get kind of like unceremoniously wiped in the beginning of the first movie and then never described or mentioned again. And then in the end, they're like, oh yeah, they were in these stasis tubes the whole time, and we saved them, so they're good. Okay, that's that. So yeah, at Kurita Prime, Stormtrooper aim.
100%. The lasers were pointless. At Translationmon, Troopmon can't aim. Yeah, just rag on them. They're just bad.
And now we have a long stretch of ones people talking about and also very horny for Leomon. So CC Takado, Leomon is daddy.
At Megadramon22, yes, daddy Leomon.
At Ursam Leblek, Leomon is king.
At Camilo_Tapias, Leomon successful plot. Yes, Leomon is like really good plot. I kept expecting it to go wrong, but Leomon was just like good at his job.
Yeah, he should get a promotion. At Andy Lucas TT, Leomon for Gogglehead.
Oh, is that the leader basically? Because like
yeah, because Taichi has one, and in the other seasons, the main character almost always has goggles.
And at Dak_N_Jackster, Leomon's bullying PSA. Don't bully people. I guess.
I'm trying to remember who was the bully in this scenario.
I think Leomon's the bully, really.
Yeah, they did kind of just murder Minotauromon. So
they went into his house and beat him up.
At Jshan26, Leomon a Chad.
He is. I like him. At Snowwolf2012, don't die, Leomon. And it's very funny because I went in kind of not trusting Leomon because all the way back when they were mentioned about the resistance, and I was like, am I supposed to believe this person? But I'm glad Leomon's a good person, hopefully. What if they just make him a traitor? He's just awful, and they just like kill everyone's dreams.
Don't actually kill him, just have him be like extremely evil. And
yes.
Make the fandom root for him to be killed. That would be a really great turn, actually. Because yeah, like we all were like, oh, he's amazing, he's the best, he's totally pure and innocent, and he's gonna die. It's gonna be so sad. And it's like, if they make us want him to die, oh man, that would be like Giga Brain, Galaxy Brain move, like
ultimate heartbreak.
And the last one was from Empire Will, double fisting hype.
It is very funny.
All right, so onto his listener questions. First one came in from CRR McRae. Were the bad guys the one who gave them Omegamon in episode 18? The feather brought Takaru to the digital world and then seemingly immediately in the bad guy's base.
Ooh.
I think this is explainable because they meant like Leomon mentioned that they like picked up on transmissions or whatever that like Valvemon was basically like scouring the desert, and it seems like they found Takaru in the desert and then brought him on board. So I'm like, yeah, it is it's a little bit too convenient that like Devimon knew where to look, right? But
Mhm.
like, so that might end up being like integrated into the plot. But I'm thinking maybe it's more that like maybe Angemon sent those feathers while under Devimon, like
Duress.
yeah, like maybe he like snuck them out and Devimon found out, and
Mhm.
then he was like, oh, maybe he's intervened. Maybe I should go see if he brought a kid into the digital world or something.
Mhm.
So
Or kind of like the original one was sent like to help, and then he like made him send out another feather. Like I almost wish
ooh,
there was more time between this because it feels it's right after. So like I know there's Digimon world is faster than our world. So like I'm trying to think if maybe that's why that somehow there actually is like a little bit of a time period because like in the ending we see like TK by himself in the jungle and I almost wish like we'd gotten an episode of that or maybe we'll get like a flashback to that.
yeah, I hadn't thought about how like if the digital world's moving faster, that means that that time where they like if he's transported to the digital world in the middle of last week's episode,
Mhm.
that like maybe he's there for longer while they're finding him and stuff. But
Mhm.
also it's weird enough because like I think they implied last week that like they were so close to the real world that things were kind of like synced up
Simultaneous.
again.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that still applies now that the fake Tokyo was destroyed. So
Mhm.
I think they could kind of they could do whatever they want with the time travel, or the
Yeah.
time dilation now. So we'll see how they play it.
Mhm.
So the next set of questions came from Austin LC23. Even if Omegamon requires hope/light stuff to happen, both Tai/Matt have ultimates, so the fights with champions/armors have no stakes. Why? Because they haven't set any rules about Digivolution aside from the Omegamon ones. And they're saying that this episode's better than last episode, but that's not saying much.
Mhm.
And they go on, I also just really dislike how there's no value in the life of Digimon this season. The kids just ruthlessly murder sentient beings repeatedly, and we don't know that they're reincarnating as Digi-Eggs. Even decent/good episodes are brought down by the glaring writing issues.
Mhm.
Yeah, I sympathize with all of that. And this,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of reiterating points that we made as we were discussing
Mhm.
because yeah, I think it's been most frustrating with the Sound Birdmon because
Mhm.
they introduced the Sound Birdmon as a way to avoid killing Digimon.
Yeah, and they never do it.
Yeah, so at least this
Yeah.
episode, it's a little better because there was no Sound Birdmon, but also it's a little bit worse because we saw that he was not possessed at all and
Mhm.
just made some bad choices in life.
Yeah, and I guess like they did Omegamon in like the first encounter to stop or no, in like the first or second episode they did it, but
Mhm.
that was without hope and light. They just
Well,
kind
I
of did
mean,
it randomly.
they still got those feathers.
Oh, true. Okay.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah, it's hard to tell what rules there, especially because I'm going in like Omegamon means nothing to me. So it makes it harder to tell what the rules are supposed to be. Like I definitely agree. Like it feels really weird. I'm just like I don't know.
yeah. I think partially the show is like playing very fast and loose with rules, which
Hmm.
I think it's interesting to hear your perspective because I think as like hardcore fans, I think would be kind of frustrated that they're like ignoring some of the rules that we've come to expect. But then it's interesting to hear from your perspective, like without rules firmly set up, it's just like confusing what you're supposed to think.
Hmm.
Like so, it seems like it's not really working for hardcore fans
Yeah.
or for people who are less hardcore.
Hmm.
But yeah, I do think the MO of this series is basically to like have fun, flashy spectacle and not think about the details.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, maybe it works for kids who aren't really thinking like in this episode where they're staying champion the whole time and not really having to like even though they could flex harder and they could be stronger but they
Hmm.
don't need to like I think it only falls down as an adult watching. I think as a kid I would have been like,
Hmm.
oh great, this is fun, whatever, like
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about the details.
Because I could have sworn in the original series when they went ultimate, they kind of like afterwards would revert to their like below the because there's rookie whatever is
Yeah,
below rookie, they would go like
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
the babier ones.
Yeah, there was always like a cost, and it was like clearly it was a big cooldown. It was like a big
Hmm.
deal and stuff. And this time it's like, and then like over time, it also the cooldown got shorter. Like they got,
Hmm.
I think eventually they're able to go to ultimate without reverting back to in training. I think
Hmm.
so. It's like yeah, that felt natural and cool. In this version, they're just like cut the fat. I think there's like
Yeah.
remove those extra forms. Like
But then they have them in the in like the opening thing, so it's kind of like
mm,
I know what they are, but I like if someone's new, they'd be like, "What is this?"
yeah, that's a good point. I forgot they're in the opening.
Hmm.
Okay, next comment came in from Andy Lucas TT, and they said, "You know what, Adventure 2020? Just when I thought you couldn't get any dumber, you go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself." And then they asked the question, "What do you think of the Digimon as bases concepts? If they kill the base, does everyone die inside, or do they fall to the ground?" I think I like these Digimon as bases, but I feel like right now when we've seen two of them, it's at a little bit of an awkward. I would appreciate. I think when there was one, it was cool, distinctive thing. When there's
Hmm.
two, I'm like, okay, we've already seen this before.
Yeah.
I think they could, if they had more than two, it could also be cool if it was like we saw a lineup. Like if this was clearly Devimon's thing and it wasn't just random coincidence, if it was like we see that he brags about having 7 bases or something and is like,
Hmm.
you took down 2 of my 7 bases and like here are these like 5 other big bases you need to take down. Like that could be a cool concept to integrate into the show.
Mm-hmm.
But as is, it's kind of like, I guess I appreciate symmetry in shows like this. And so when it's like you have 2 instances, it's like, well, now you're repetitive and you're not repetitive enough to be
Mm-hmm.
symmetrical. So
Yeah, and it's also like I wish the bases kind of had more personality, or kind of clear that they're like
mhm.
Digimon rather than just. I guess I think Bird the B base, it had more of that problem where it felt more just like a plane than like an actual Digimon. And I would say killing the base, I would say they fall to the ground, but I would like it like if somehow they like unhypnotized, unevil sized the Valvemon, if Valvemon even is hypnotized, which maybe they're not, and like what happens there, and if like the base is fighting against you or something, could be kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. It's even now that you mention it, like even sadder to think that maybe Valvemon isn't hypnotized and he's
Yeah.
just walking aimlessly, like, and the troop mount are just controlling him. Like, so next question or next set of questions, they're both about speechless mounts. From Empire Will, they said this series has pushed the boundaries of what a Digimon can be, with giant moving bases being quote unquote Digimon, but it was still surprising the bird mounts, the Pekmon, were speechless. Have there been examples before this of Digimon mounts? And the second comment on a similar note from Karita Prime said, how do you think Falcomon feels about the fact that once he evolves, he will be downgraded to transportation?
That's yeah, that's so weird to me. I don't know.
Yeah, like I think this is a unfortunate, like sad budget reality where like this reminds me in this episode where we saw Leomon, we saw Spadamon, we saw Falcomon, we saw Pekmon
Hmm.
on the side of the resistance, but the only one who actually talked was Leomon. It reminded me of in that earlier episode where we saw Neymon, Bearmon, and those little thingies I don't remember the
Hmm.
name of. Like there are a bunch of Digimon there, and only Neymon talked. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I think they're clearly like we can afford one voice actor, and no one else talks.
And yeah, it would have been really cool if if like I was at the transportation, if it had kind of been Pekmon had like been snarky or something, because they're also
Yeah.
like just as much resistance. Would have been cool.
Yeah, that's something that like the English dub could totally do, would totally
Hmm.
do to like make it fun, just add random dialogue in the middle. Yeah, so next question from Gigajimon22, and they asked, when Leomon mentioned that Digivices and human interference in Digivolution is ancient mythology, my mind jumped back to Daigo, Maki, and the other original children. Do you think we'll see them in the Sovereigns, or did the original kids partner up with our kids' partners? So Kendra, this question might be kind of hard
Yeah.
to parse without. Basically, in Try, there's a kind of a big reveal that the it's mentioned in the original season of Adventure at the very end, like
Hmm.
Jedi at the very. I don't know if you remember Jedi, the old guy that tells them info dumps.
Okay.
He at the very end is like, this prophecy, like this Apocalypse thing that you're fighting, actually was defeated once before by the original Digidestined, and they defeated him once before, and they're like, what, original Digidestined? What? And it's like never mentioned in the original show outside of that. And then in Try, there are basically these older characters who come in, and it's eventually revealed that they were 2 of those original kids.
Oh, that's really cool.
So that's kind of what they're asking this question. Like, do we think that Leomon, like, do we think that there were original children in this version? And I don't think so, because what I kind of liked about that info dump in episode 5 when the holy Digimon thing, like they were voice recording whatever is telling them
Hmm.
things, like it's the impression I got from that was that when the like War Greymon and Metal Garurumon and the Digimon that we see now, when they were those ancient warriors or whatever,
Hmm.
it seemed like they got to that power on their own, and that now this is like a new strategy they're doing. Like
Hmm.
now it seems like we have this idea to pull in kids, and
Hmm.
I really like that framing. So I don't think I would like it if they were like, oh, actually, this isn't the first time we've done this. We did this once before.
Yeah, and I
So
guess I would have wished that like the ancient mythology would have been further back, like ancient Greece or like ancient Egypt, and kind of getting like that would have been really cool. I guess it wouldn't. The problem is there wouldn't be tech. So how do you have a digital world before like
mm,
electronic tech? Not that they didn't have tech, other tech back then.
it kind of reminds me of like Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's like,
Hmm.
oh, it's like fancy digital card games, but actually back in ancient Egypt, they were doing the same thing with magical tablets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you could do something like that. Like, oh, I don't know, like because they do in like one offhand thing in the second season, they mention
Mm.
that like, oh yeah, Digimon are digital, but like actually they didn't originate from digital thing. Like they're actually more like
Oh.
yokai or like
Mm.
mythological spirits. So like you could have some origin that's pre-digital. That would be
Yeah.
cool to have like maybe some kind of like ancient Digimon that is like very different than the others because it comes from an era before the digital technology existed. That'd be really cool.
of interesting where it's kind of like that humans can help Digimon evolve, but Digimon can also evolve by themselves, or as well as like or as like we kind of got that implied when they had the ultimate Digimon that was like big scary dinosaur with all of like the miasma and like the wires that are just part of that Digimon. That's not like it being. I don't know. That was really weird. But I just wonder, and then now like it's kind of is that stronger evolutions? I wonder like if it'll kind of explore that aspect of it at all. Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. That like this will this new form of evolution will exceed the old version, or like exceed what was possible before. So the next question from MegaJamon22, and they asked, if you could take one My Hero Academia character and add them to the cast as the 9th Digidestined, who would you pick and why? I'd pick Dobby and have him emo it up with Matt and Garumon's Blue Flame.
I'm the My Hero podcast person here. So, my first thought was Ochako for some reason, just because I think she's like bubbly enough that like she really fits in. But I guess it's hard to imagine what Digimon she would go with, because like I would almost give her the TK's one, but I'm thinking more when they were just the fly one with shooting the bubbles. And my other thing would be Kirishima, just because the problem is there's so many like Kirishima, but also I think All Might in the digital world would be cool because he's just this old guy with a Digimon, and he could be like one of the original Digimon users or something, or one of the Digidestined. So I would say All Might, just because it would be like I think it would bring interesting maybe like history element to it.
I kind of, maybe this is too basic of an answer, but I think Bakugo would like, because I don't think we've seen like Digimon characters like never have that much of an edge. Like they're never that like flawed. I want to see like someone who is like actually has lots of flaws and is like mean, and see him like grow to not be as mean, or like to grow to like everyone for them to get used to his meanness or something.
Yeah.
So.
Has there been anything when like the Digimon like argues with the Digidestined and kind of like fight with them because they're all
like they kind of like split up or something?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like there's that episode in the original Adventure where like TK and Patamon get into a fight and then like they kind of split up for an episode, but I don't think it doesn't last for very long. And there's actually that happens twice with TK and Patamon. Now that I think about it.
That's cool, because I don't know, I just love how like the friendship and like the Digimon like talking and like interacting, it makes me really happy. Like it's very, very, it's like one of my favorite things. So I don't know.
All right, so next question from @LeoSketch, and they also left this other comment. I want to say my hopes got raised a little this episode, but maybe the bar has been set so low by last episode that it's come full circle. What about you guys? You think the anime is slowly coming around? P.S. What kind of influence does Devimon have if he's controlling Velgurmon or Velgumon? I'm not sure how it's spelled, but yeah, I think I totally like. I'm like, okay, the bar's been lowered so much by last episode that like this episode didn't need to do much to redeem last one.
I guess for me, it's kind of been hit or miss. Last episode, I didn't really hate that much. I guess because maybe I'm like watching them all in a row, so it didn't like stand on its own. I like the animation when they like kind of slashed the evolved form of Orochimon or whatever it was.
Like when it cut him in half.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool, but that's like basically the only thing I remember from that episode. But I don't know. I think I'm excited to kind of see the kids kind of interact. I don't know, because I don't want it to go... who knows? I don't know. I'm excited to where they might go. I hope they stay with the Resistance and we kind of like talk to the Resistance more. I think would be cool.
Yeah, I personally am just like... There was a long... Like early in the show, we were kind of like... The structure was mixed up enough that it was different from the original show. Like it wasn't just like they all meet in the first episode and then it's about an intro character episode for each character. So like it was mixed up enough. And then once they got to the ultimate stage, then it was very formulaic, and then it was like, okay, clearly there's gonna be one episode for each character. And then once that arc wrapped up, it was like excited for the fake Tokyo arc thing, and it ended so frustratingly that I was like, this whole fake Tokyo thing was a waste of time, kind of is what I felt. But now we're in a new arc where it does not seem obvious where things are going. It doesn't seem like, so I feel like this new arc has put things for the first time since episode like 10 or 11. I'm excited for the show again because it's like we don't know where it's going. It's not obvious. It's not formulaic, and it's like it feels like each week is going to be exciting. Before it was like each week was exciting because it was like, yeah, I guess I'm curious to see the Sora episode, but I know it's going to be a Sora episode. And now we're kind of more like back in the unknown, which is I find exciting.
Yeah, and the Sora episode was especially disappointing because she didn't change or do anything different. She already always wants to protect everybody. So I was like, great, Sora. But I guess you could say the same for Joe, that he keeps having to learn. I'm reliable. Oh, I didn't talk about it, but I do love his I'm the leader.
I like it. I liked it the first time, and
Yeah.
the more they bring it up, the more I'm like, this doesn't make you seem sympathetic. You seem like kind of mean or like out of
It
touch.
it makes me think of Usopp when it's like, I'm Captain Usopp. So
Oh
I
yeah.
I love Usopp, so I like cowards and like the wimps. See Mimi. Not like Mimi's a wimp. And I guess also I like this kind of me just going off of Joe. I just like Joe and Matt's interactions a lot. Like when he like kept talking to to Matt until he fell asleep, and then Matt's like, okay, fine, I'll ride on your Digimon. And I was like, they're boyfriends, even though like they're not. But I'm like, I don't care. They're cute.
That was really cute, and I was like, I hope they're going. I was like, there's a reading of this that is actually like Matt just hates Joe, and I hope they're not going that angle.
That's what I kind of want more interactions of the kids, but I guess this is Digimon. The Digimon have to fight each other. So like, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious with this. Well, I was excited for this new way the kids were being split up. I was like, oh, we're gonna
Mhm.
see new combinations and ways for the kids to interact. But I don't know. Now realizing that it's just they put the like S tier characters in one plot
Yeah.
and they put the B tier characters in the other plot. Like I'm worried that
Yeah.
it's not going to be like especially last week's episode when it was like, oh, Yamato and Taichi are doing stuff and the other four kids are just sitting on the floor doing nothing. Was
Yeah,
frustrating.
because like Taichi and Yamato have the cool, like they kind of like contrast and bump heads, but like just a separate. They like work together. They have great communication, like silent communication. That was cool, but they're also kind of boring together because they're both so headstrong that there's like, where do you go from there?
Yeah, and like for hardcore fans, like
Mm,
on a meta level, we've just seen Taiji Yamato so
hmm
many times at this point. It's just been like because like they have that synergy in fighting in the original adventure. They kind of I guess they don't really butt heads in Zero Two,
hmm
but we've gotten it again in the movie. So there's Adventure, there's our War Game movie, there's Try, there's the Kizuna which just came out, and it's
hmm
okay now. This is like the fifth time like we've seen it. So yeah.
I kind of hope. Like I'm also getting sad now thinking that the kids are gonna like separate. So like Mimi's gonna go away and she's gonna go talk to her grandpa or something. And I was like, no, Mimi, stay with
Yeah,
everyone else.
there is one season that this remind like the way they're split up,
Yeah.
the way they get sent back to
hmm
the real world is like it's actually that cross war season we've mentioned a couple of times where like there's basically three arcs and the first arc is basically a main character who has Digimon and then he's with two of his friends who don't really have Digimon. They're just kind of
hmm
like friends who do stuff and help out but don't have Digimon partners themselves.
hmm
And then like at the end of the first arc, they all get into the real world and they don't come back with him. And he gets two different friends who do have Digimon. And it's kind of like
uh,
goodbye, old friends. Here are my new friends that have Digimon. And I was like, I
yeah.
hope that's not what they're doing with these. Like, oh, we kicked out Mimi and the others, and now we only care about Taichi and Yamato.
Ooh, yeah, I am really sad though. Also, their Digimon vanished. Like they did. Like I wonder if maybe like if Mimi looks at her phone, Tentamon will be like, or no, Palmon will be like living in it or something. Could be
Yeah,
cool.
that could be interesting. Yeah.
Cause like I don't know, I'm like, and also I'm just sad they're also not like in the digital world. Like it would have been cool having to interact with other Digidestined Digimon, which could be cool. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm curious to see like anytime that there's like a shake in the status quo, like now there anytime there are like things happening where they go back and forth
hmm
is generally exciting to me. So I'm
hmm
like curious to see how they're gonna handle it.
And they mentioned Devimon controlling Veldimon, because I guess Velgimon's really powerful, is the thing
Yeah,
here.
but he's not like because like I mean Devimon has been controlling ultimates for a whole arc, and it's like I don't think Velgamon's supposed to be that much stronger than that. So it
Okay.
didn't seem weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see once
Mm.
Velgamon's
Oh.
in the actual episode. Because actually, based on that preview, it seems like he was very I don't know. I get the impression that Velgamon's going to be very intimidating, but we'll
Mm.
see.
I can't take Devimon seriously after they talked. They somehow could control sand and talk to people, so now they're just a sand vampire. I Devimon was like, it's weird looking back at the original series and looking at Devimon looking at this one, because I feel like, I don't know, Devimon just feels weird. Like I'm waiting for them kind of to properly be a villain instead of like always kind of in the background. And they kind of get to talk to the kids here, but like, I don't know, step up your game.
Yeah, it's interesting how he is in the background, and a lot of people have had doubts and concerns because he's only a champion level, and they've like
Mhm.
gone way past champion level. And it's like, is he going to be intimidating at all once they actually meet him?
Yeah, but I guess like I wonder if like the risk with levels is kind of doing them as like power levels a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's easy for fans to fall into like you've told us a power level and now
Mm,
like you're contradicting it, but like power levels are silly and
mm,
like I generally am not that big of a fan of them. Like they're kind of just a shorthand to explain why slang should be an intimidating threat, which you can always convey without that explanation anyway. So like,
They can use them creatively. It's how you fight. Like the Imon was like lower than champion level or something, right? Or maybe champion level.
yeah, it was champion,
Yeah.
and they commented how like it's weird how it's so strong for just being
Hmm.
champion level, but because then they need like 6 ultimates to take on one champion is kind of weird, but like
Yeah.
I don't know, yeah, like that everything goes back to Cross Wars apparently, because in Cross
Hmm.
Wars when they don't have the levels, I think it is gives them a lot of freedom to just hype up Digimon based on how threatening they actually seem in the battle,
Hmm.
and yeah, I don't know. It's weird when they do have levels and they're like contradicting them,
Hmm.
but I guess that's its own form of hype because, like, I don't know, imagine like power levels, like, I don't know, in like Seven Deadly Sins or in Dragon Ball where like they have actual numbers and like scanners that tell you a
Hmm.
number. Because, like, it is also intimidating when it's like, oh, this thing has 10 million points. Oh my God, how are we going to beat it? But it's also intimidating when it's like, this thing has 2 points and why is it trouncing us? Like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I guess we kind of got that with Eismon being champion level.
Hmm.
Yeah, so the last comment was from Dot Yawning, and they said, still not sure why they went the remake route unless they pull like an FF7R Final Fantasy 7 remake at a surprising point or something. This could have been a new batch of kids, and we wouldn't have needed to slowly drag our feet up to this point. I think the answer, disappointingly, I think the answer to this is kind of obvious that it's like
Hmm.
Adventure is the only Digimon flavor that sells well,
Yeah.
and at the point where I think that the thing that is appealing about this show is that it's the Adventure Kids,
Hmm.
and but I also like a little bit less cynically. I do think they're going to do something surprising. Like I think that this episode, the things that have been hyped up, I wrote them down. Like Leomon talking about like the digital world's destiny is about to go through a drastic change. Minotaurmon talking about like Devimon's power is going to change everything. It's going to change the entire digital world. A new era of evolution is approaching. Like to me, those all feel like things they could just be like, oh, and the kids are going to reach mega level. That could just be
Hmm.
what they're referring to. But I think it's going to be something bigger. I think it's going to be something more, and it's going to explain why there is still, this is episode 19. So we still have, let me do some
Hmm.
live math. We still have 47 episodes.
Oh wow.
Like
What?
that, that's like almost as long as the entire Digimon season. So like
Hmm.
I'm excited for that. I think that Final Fantasy 7 remake style twist on the formula is coming up and it's going to happen.
I do wonder if like when they mentioned the new batch of kids, I almost wondered if maybe they will just bring in the second generation. Like the other kids were sent back, and now the second Digidestined are like locked and loaded, and they come in. Might be like very
Oh.
chaotic. And I guess my other thing maybe was the new evolution could be the corrupted one might be cool. Like kind of when they were focusing more on Mimi's like rage. Like I
Mhm.
wonder. I guess like probably Lilymon doesn't have that version, but
But I wish she did. I wish other kids, other than because like they've done that trope of a corrupted Digivolution. They've done it several times,
mm,
but like it's always been the main character.
yeah.
So like yeah, give us Mimi doing that. That'd be
Mm,
fantastic. Like I don't know if you've ever seen the Digimon, but there's an evolution of Lilymon called
mm.
Bancho Lilymon,
Ooh.
who looks fantastic, and I wish they brought into the show.
Oh, that's
But
cool.
yeah,
He has a yo-yo. I like it.
it's Yo-Yo with like Togemon's face on it. Now that I realize.
Oh.
So yeah, I think from a like strategic like brand perspective, I think that if they're going to write a new story at this point in the life cycle of Digimon, there's no point for that to be a Digimon story. Like maybe that's
Mm,
being too cynical, but like I think at least where we are now with like people's preferences and nostalgia and stuff, and that could change years from now. Like if
mm,
because I think at this point we're kind of once this show ends, we might be kind of sick of Digimon Adventure.
mm.
And maybe they do a different kind of thing for Digimon, but I think for now it's kind of like Adventure is the main thing to focus on.
Yeah, they didn't want to reinvent the wheel. It's kind of because, like, I probably like if it had been new people, I probably wouldn't have watched it.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point. That like
Hmm.
a lot of like you and a lot of other guests that I've had on this show have only been interested because of the Adventure Kids.
Hmm.
So I do think it's like, yeah, it would be cool if they did some new season that was like a new concept, new kids and everything, and it was just so good. It just nailed it, like knocked it out of the park so well that it also got everyone interested in the show again. But I think that's extremely unlikely.
Yeah.
Like so, yeah.
I wonder. I think they will kind of go off script because they already have a little bit, but I wonder if they're going to do like a major change. I kind of hope maybe.
Yeah, I hope it's kind of like a butterfly effect where like the
Hmm.
longer we get into the series, the more it diverges
Hmm.
to a point. Hopefully, we look back later and we're like, this doesn't even resemble the original show at all.
Hmm.
But I might be eating my words later on.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. So now that we're kind of at the end of the show, do you have any final thoughts, or should we get in? Do you have anything we didn't bring up before? Or do you want to get right into our ratings?
I just say, like, I look forward to seeing what happens with the kids in our world, or like if they're really going to come back right away. I thought the fights were good. I really liked Yamato and Taichi like actually really working well together. I think was really cool. And Leomon, I'm just like worried about him because I feel like he did a really good job. So now, like, I feel like the pacing they're going, he's gonna die like next episode.
Yeah, I hope. I don't know. I'm worried about Leomon dying because I'm like, don't just do it again unless you have some interesting
Yeah.
reason or take on it. Like, so I hope they do something interesting with it and don't just kill him next episode because they totally could. Like, as ominous as things looked from the teaser.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess, yeah. Before we get into our ratings, let's talk about that. The
Mm-hmm.
next episode is episode 20, the seventh one awakens. It looks like Yamato is going to be saving Takeru. Holy Digimon appears. And Takeru gets Patamon as a Digi-Egg, it looks like. It's pretty clear.
Yeah.
So this almost feels too soon to me. Like we just found Takeru in the digital world and they're already gonna meet the Holy Digimon. The Holy Digimon's already gonna maybe, it seems like, get murdered and come back as Patamon.
But I wonder, it would be cool if the egg's actually Kari's egg or something. So it's not actually, or like if Devamon's actually like wants him to find that egg and like kind of tricking him or something could be interesting. Yeah, it seems like way too fast. Like it's like we just saw Angemon at the end and now, oh, there's an egg and it's like, what?
Yeah, like I'm a little worried that like maybe that egg part of the teaser was too much and like that could have been left for us to actually discover in the episode. But maybe they're purposely playing with our expectations. Yeah. So how would you rate this episode out of 5 stars?
I would say like a 4 or 3.5. I really liked it. The fight was good. Like Leomon won me over because at first, like, I really didn't trust him, but he's cool.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn. I think I'm gonna give it a 3.5 because I like thought it was good, but like it wasn't amazing. But also like my expectations have been lowered, so like now a 3.5 is enough to make me excited for the show. So
I would say like the disappointments of the show were like the random like mook level where I'm just like these guys were pointless. Like they could have just run through an empty base instead of fighting the stormtroopers.
Yeah, and they yeah, like you mentioned, I guess in 3 reviews, like they just aren't, they never hit anything.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
useless.
like, yeah, and it's like it is kind of like maybe it's harking back to stormtroopers who are usually that ineffective, but also it's just like it reminded me that this isn't the first time. This season has done this a lot where there are things, the kids are constantly being fired on and nothing actually hurts them and nothing actually injures them. It's just like it's kind of just background detail. It's just like, oh, so there's some visual flourish to the scene, things flying past them. That's all it's there for.
It was surprising in the Joe episode when Sora actually did get iced, but then they like kind of, she's like, oh, I could use my fire. It's like, oh no, that'll hurt her. It's like, no, you could just like, it's the same like a fire. You could just like, there's no smoke. You could just go like breathe beside her leg. Like, I don't know. I get mad at kid logic.
Do you have an MVP for this episode?
Oh, it's kind of hard. I have to give it to Leomon because he's like, I got 2 fists. It's just really cool.
Yeah, I mean, like the 3 reviews have said, he is daddy. So
yeah,
I'll give it to him as well.
I was considering giving it to Minotaurmon just for his butt, but he was too creepy and I didn't like him. His butt wasn't that nice.
Yeah. I don't like looking at his creepy empty crotch and also his nose ring and like connecting the dots about like it creeps me out. I don't want to think about it.
Give him some jeans. Where are they getting these jeans?
So now we're at the end of the episode. Kendra, do you want to recommend something to listeners?
Sure. If you're missing Octage because of all the drama with that, I would recommend Skip Beat. It's a manga which is about acting. It's kind of rom-commy. It's really cool. I would say check it out. I'm reading it through like a library app, so check out Skip Beat.
Sweet. I have seen that title around for a while, but I never actually looked into it much. So, we kind of brought up the topic of like ancient Greek mythology. So I'm gonna recommend the Talk of the Town now, Hades, which is a roguelike / roguelite game that I think it's also on like a bunch of different platforms. I've been playing it on Switch. And it's just fantastic. Like it is so much fun to play. I am mostly just frustrated I don't have more time to play it because it's very addicting and it is fantastic to play. And also everyone is very hot. And the people aren't familiar with roguelike gameplay. It's generally that you like basically like are doing a bunch of randomly generated rooms and then like your progress is reset every time
Hmm.
and you kind of start from scratch each time. And this is not a like it's not quite a roguelike. And I don't know how much this distinction matters, but there's a kind of a distinction between roguelike and roguelite. And this is by the terminology, it's a roguelite because there's some progression that carries over. So you are kind of always progressing, both in terms of your understanding of the mechanics, but also you do get some upgrades that you can like make the next runs a little bit easier and stuff. And it's really cool.
And kind of the point is you're going to die a lot.
Yeah, yeah, and it's kind of like it makes, unlike some other roguelike games, like it actually like makes it kind of fun to die because then you
Mhm.
can kind of talk to people more and like get some more story and stuff, and it kind of makes it like exciting to like you're not like, oh god damn it, like let me start over again. It's like, oh no, I get to do some story stuff. And
Mm. I've seen a
yeah,
lot of fan art for it. And let's say Hades is or no wait, what's the main guy's name? Because he's not Hades. It's Hades'
yeah,
son.
he said his son Zagreus.
Okay, Zagreus is hot. He
Yeah.
wins hot Digimon. Yes.
It's also just like it's surprising how much like the basic story is that he is Hades' son. He's trying to escape Hades.
Mhm.
Wait, he's trying to escape Hades, his father, but also Hades, the underworld as a
Mhm.
concept. But it's just like it's such a like fitting reinterpretation of these mythological characters with like kind of modern understanding of like family dynamics and stuff. And like
Mhm.
like you're accepting these like boons from the like gods like Zeus and Neptune and etc. Wait, not Neptune, Poseidon.
Oh.
Neptune is Roman. Anyway, it's like you're accepting all these different boons from the gods who are basically like your distant relatives who are kind of like trying to help you get out of an abusive household, but also
Mm.
they are not that much better and they're also terrible people. So they're kind of like
Oh.
they're like, oh yeah, we heard about your plight and we're gonna help you, but then they also like kind of backstab you and like do all this. So like it's really cool. It actually feels very. It's weird to see these like mythological characters and have them feel so relatable and like there's something to the fact that like Hades is like the main character's father is just there and is like kind of just like resigned to like you being a rebellious teenager who is like
Mm.
trying to escape, but like he's like, I don't trust you enough to like think that you actually make it out of here, so like I'm actually going to stop you. Like
Hmm.
you can keep doing your BS, but like it's not actually going to get anywhere. And like it's I don't know, it's just it's a very good game. It's a very fun and cool characters that make it all feel like a great package.
Nice. That sounds really cool. I'm gonna watch some streams of it, I guess, because I suck at video games, but I like the story behind them. So
Mm.
yeah.
All right, so that brings us to the end of the show. Last week's Digiprompt was, what is the absolute worst episode in a season of Digimon that you otherwise love and why? And my favorite response came in from at AustinLC23, and they said, probably Ryo's introduction episode in Tamers. Still hate his forced inclusion and the way he wrecks Rika's character. And the episode where they meet him isn't all that interesting, really. I thought that was a good reference point because yeah, that episode and that introduction to that arc is very very bad, but the season overall is still really good. So it
Hmm.
gave me some light in after watching last week's episode that like even if last week's episode was terrible, the season still can rebound. So yeah, this week's digiprompt is, in honor of Leomon's debut this episode, who is the most attractive character, human or Digimon, in the series and why? And this one might evoke very, very horny responses, so I cannot promise to retweet everyone's response on Twitter. So just be warned that if you are extremely horny, I might not be able to retweet it. So
I'm gonna get mine in now. Garurumon is surprisingly hot. Like I didn't think he was hot when I was watching him when I was younger, but like this season, I'm just like, whoa.
and you mean Wergurumon, right? Not the
Oh yes,
not the four-legged
Sorry,
one.
Where Garurumon is hot. I'm not going full furry. Sorry, I'm also looking at my other favorite is Garudamon, so I was already thinking of the
Oh
Garuda.
yeah.
So Garudamon's also cool, and but yes, tell us who is hot. The sub question is who has the nicest butt.
Yes, exactly. We care very much about the butts
Yes.
in the show. So and yeah, so send your Digiprompt responses and general feedback to potages@gmail.com, potages on Twitter, or in the episode comments on our website, potages.com. If this is your first episode, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or in traditional podcast apps. And if you want to support the podcast, share it with your friends who will fist your enemies for you.
I thought that was a spelling mistake. That's amazing. Sorry.
And please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps out. I'm definitely Jeff on Twitter, and you can also check out my other anime podcast, Love It a Wee Bit, where we review new seasonal anime. And also, like I mentioned at the start of the show, I did a guest spot on With the Will recently to talk about Last Evolution Kizuna, which was a fantastic movie and a fun podcast. So check it out if you recently watched that movie, and you totally should go watch that movie, even if you're not the biggest fan of Try, because it does not require knowledge of Try. Yeah. So Kendra, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a blast.
Thank you for having me on. You can follow me on Twitter at Sniper of My Heart, and I am also on the My Hero Academia podcast at MHA Pod and the View from the Top at IQ Pod. So I say check those out.
Thanks for listening, and I'll be back with another guest next week to talk about episode 20, The Seventh One Awakens. Bye.
Bye.
And remember, never stop Digimon.
I guess this will be mentioned in the questions, but I have like a Digimon like board game. Is it like the only game I have of it? I played it like all of twice, and one of them was at a board game cafe. So and I made my friends play it.
I didn't even know there was a board. Oh wow, this looks so generic. The picture that I found.
Yes, it's like you basically need to collect tokens, and then you can Digivolve. Yeah, it's not a very fun game.
I'm looking at like pictures on Board Game Geek now. It's Board Game Geek gave it a 4.9 out of 10. That's higher than I expected. So.
And I'm on Wikimon, and there is one Digimon that straight up looks like someone's OC. It's like a blonde hair, blue-eyed Digimon with like wings, but it's like a person.
Which one is that?
I don't even know. I'm gonna try to send a screenshot in Skype.
Oh yeah, that's Lucimon.
What?
Yeah, it's in the banner.
What?
Yeah, that's that's like fan art of the. Let me show you
okay.
what he normally looks like. Lucimon is actually an interesting thing to bring up because he has a form that looks a lot like that weird larva thing that we saw hatching last week.
Oh,
but I think it's gonna be something new.
That would be cool if maybe they were the holy Digimon or something. Like, yeah. I don't know. I want like a new Digimon, or maybe one that I don't know. So that could be like that could be a lot of Digimon.
Yeah, Lucimon is interesting because like he's always this visually, it's a sweet innocent boy who's always super evil.
Oh,
so.
Oh, like Lucifer. I just realized that. Lucimon. Oh, I was like, Lucy, they're nice.
I'm used to Lucifer from Grand Blue Fantasy, so I'm like, oh, Lucifer is a pure, sweet, innocent boy. Garudamon's also interesting because it's like Garudamon's very hot and also like fairly gender ambiguous. Like, yeah, kind of both like because I think it like the voice is very deep and it's like it's not specifically feminine or masculine and kind of a trans or non-binary icon.
Like I appreciate that because I was like, yeah, and like Digimon in general, like I guess you kind of go based off of the voice as well as you kind of think like, oh, they're usually the same gender as the Digidestined, but Digimon do what they want.
They're also usually pretty like as nice as it is to like read onto these things with a queer lens. Like a lot of the time they feel very straight. Like they were designed by a straight person who is like. This Digimon has big boobs. They are a big boob girl. And it's like, great, thanks.
Oh, I would say, I can never remember what Taichi, the one that shoots the missiles out of their chest, whenever they do it, I'm just like, titty missiles.
Do you mean Metal Greymon?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I apologize to people listening. I am horrible at Digimon names, so I'm very sorry.
I wasn't sure if you meant like a female Digimon who actually had breasts who was shooting. I was like, I don't remember that. But
no, it's just Metal Greymon. I'm just like, he's really just shooting them out of his chest.
Also, I totally sympathize with not remembering names because like if I were to like talk about One Piece in any depth, I'd be like, oh, there's Usopp and his the guy that was next to Usopp that one time and like I would totally be struggling.
And it's kind of interesting because like they always make sure to like name each Digimon, and I'm just like, this doesn't mean anything to me. But I guess like you're supposed to recognize like, oh, I know that Digimon, that's a really cool one. And I'm just like, no, I don't care. The names are kind of silly.
Yeah, for me, Digimon for some reason is just the one thing that like permanently etched in my brain each time. Like a lot of these seasons I've only seen once or twice, and I still have like that first viewing like etched in my brain so hard that I remember a lot of details for some reason. Compared to like other franchises, I'm just like. There's class 1B is Tetsu and the others.
That's fair. Well, things I do that too with the series I like. There's so many characters, it's just hard sometimes.
Yeah. our brain only has space for so many things. So.
Oh, and I just remembered I was going to say that I liked Kari so much when I was little. Like whenever I can name a character in a video game, I name them Kari.
Oh, that reminds me that for a while, I think I still have the credit, but like Dropbox basically was like you start with 2 GB of space, and if you refer a friend, you get an extra like gigabyte or something. And I didn't have any friends to actually do that, but I did when I was in college have a bunch of lab computers that I could install a Dropbox client on to pretend I was a friend who was installing it and get extra credit for my main account. But I couldn't think of names, so I was just like, okay, this computer is Tai Kamiya, this computer is Izzy Azumi, this computer is. So, like, to Dropbox standpoint, I have a bunch of Digimon friends that gave me extra credit. So now I have, like, I forget what the base is. I think it's like 2 GB, and my account is like, you can have 20 GB because I have all my Digimon friends with me.
I guess you could say you made your own digital world.
Yeah, yeah. I also in Arknight's recent gotcha game, like there's a friend system where you can like having friends is really useful, but I didn't have a way to like actually look up or make friends, so I just like, and it has a way for you to search for names. So at first I was like, okay, I'm gonna search for Jeff, and I'll add everyone who's Jeff. But then I was like, I got all the Jeffs, but like now let me search for like Taichi. I'll add all the Taichis. Or add all the Matos.
Oh, sorry. I just love the army of Jeffs. It sounds amazing.
And remember, never stop digivolving.
Digimon, digital monsters, Digimon are the champions.